Hey, the top hat
Look
looks pretty
at
nice.
us. Look at the three of us. Here it is. It's the Cougs podcast. We got to come up with a catchy name, but we're all back together. Once again, Jim finds himself in a vehicle someplace on the side of the road, and the great Paul Sorensen, All-American safety at Washington State University. Jim, we haven't talked to Paul in just, God, a year probably, right?
Yeah, I think so. I love Paul, though. It's good to see you, Paul. Go Cougs.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you go to and Puck, always a blast. And thanks for lowering your standards and getting the three knuckleheads together again.
Well, we wouldn't have a new venture here at Puck Sports if it didn't have the Cougs Roundtable. We've got to come up with a catchy nickname or a catchy name, Cougs Podcast, or I don't know. We got to come up with something.
You got the three amigos. You know, how about the three dumbasses? That might be a good one.
I don't know. It's something. It's got to be something better than just Cougs Podcast, talking Cougar football. Something.
Well, what do you have for the Husky one that you're doing?
Puck the Huskies Podcast.
Is it Puck the Huskies?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And they went with Jordan and Reffett and Elise Woodward went with that?
I don't know if they know that's what it's going to be officially, but that's what it's going to be.
How about Cougs Rule and Dogs Drool? Does that work?
Too lengthy.
Is that lame? Okay.
Too lengthy. But you know what? The three of us wouldn't be doing this because it's proudly brought to you by two great Cougar institutions. The Cougar Collective, Paul, which you know very much, which you know a ton about. It's the NIL opportunities for all alums to be a part of, connecting student athletes, business owners. You can join today in supporting student athletes on and off the field at the Cougar Collective. Hashtag Mighty by the Many. You can join the 1890 Club for as little as $18.90 a month, which is basically just going out to lunch now. So just avoid going out to lunch one time and support the Cougar Collective. The most accessible route is supporting the Cougar NIL growth through the 1890 Club. You can also make a one-time donation. Now, if you're a business, you can collaborate your brand along with the Cougar Collective. And, of course, you can support the Old Crimson Legendary Lager, brewed by Pike Brewing. Sales benefit the Cougar Collective. More information, visit the CougarCollective.org. Also, big thanks to Andy Largent, who's just been a huge supporter of mine, of ours, back in the radio, and now in this new venture, Flatstick Pub, Cougar-owned and operated. They've got 6 amazing locations across Washington: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They've got you covered. Date night, guys' night, ladies' night, large group event. Great place for kids, by the way. And, of course, a great place to watch and celebrate the Cougs. Visit flatstickpub.com. So big thanks to Cougar Collective. Luke, who is a huge who runs the Cougar Collective, great guy. And, of course, Andy there at Flatstick Pub. Without their support, we couldn't have the beautiful Paul Sorensen joining us every week talking Cougar football. And then, of course, Jim Moore.
He's a lot more expensive than I am. Is there a big thanks to
Paul and me too, or are you just gonna?
Well, I think there's a big thanks to Paul. Just Paul.
Hey, I'm in downtown Goldendale.
We're mad at you, Jim. I'm hungry, and I've been waiting for your ass to get on the phone. We want to hang out and have some fun, dude.
This is awesome here.
We're recording the first episode, which was supposed to happen earlier, but we had to wait until Jim. See, this is the thing with him, Paul, and you know this by now. I'm just going to repeat what I said in text message. This is a guy that gets offended if you are late to anything. If he on his time, like he hates it when people are late.
What?
Yes, you do. But anytime he's late, it's somebody else's fault, and he's always late. And he was late for the recording of this today.
Was I late tonight?
Now, yes, of course you were. You were late by half an hour.
Yeah,
I know, but
I was
why were you late?
There were no lights behind him where he got pulled over and was going to have to do a DUI test or something.
God, I was passing semis and everything. I wanted to get to a good Wi-Fi spot, and where I was in Toppenish, it didn't seem like it would work because I have so much knowledge about this Cougar team that I'm trying to get out there, and I didn't want to break up, with the Wi-Fi being bad.
True.
So, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, he values our time so much that he had to make us wait so he could play golf. That's what he was doing, Sorensen. He was playing golf.
I was groveling for money, and he's out playing golf as a retired dude, living in Bend with all the beautiful people.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they let him in this, in the city. My goodness.
Hey, Paul, I don't know about you, but it's a big deal, the Cougar season this year. And we start with Portland State on August 31st. And I'm going to be excited to talk to you and Puck, the week after the Portland State game. Oh, wait, Puck will be on vacation. So we won't be talking about that game.
Yeah, well, you've been on vacation for how many months?
Quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever since they told me at KJR that my services were no longer needed.
Why don't you take a vacation? That's what they told you. You know what? We'll give you a vacation, Moore. Let's start with this, because this is kind of our preview of the upcoming season. It's just so different. I mean, college football has been thrown upside down. Paul, I'm going to start with you. It is just it's been flipped over. It's basically unrecognizable right now is what college football. I want to, though, go back and look what's happened here in the last year. You look back, you've had time, the defectors have left. They always say what time heals all wounds. Has it healed any wounds, or how much hard feelings do you still possess about the breakup of the conference?
I'm pissed. I'm not happy. I mean, it all started with Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, and then SC and UCLA did their thing. And then that was the fracture of the Pac-12, now the Pac-2, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington doing their move to the Big Ten. Then, of course, you've got Arizona, ASU, Colorado, and Utah going to the Big 12. And then, the Beavs and the Cougs are out here fighting. But I feel a lot better about Washington State and Oregon State's position, Puck and Jim, just from the standpoint that they've got the Pac-12 enterprises. They've got now a commissioner who gets it, who's out there fighting for these two schools. And let's not forget Mr. Judge Leiby, in Whitman County. And I'm telling you right now, that dude, Crimson Lager, I'm going to send him a keg every week, and we'll keep him as drunk as he wants to be, because that was the guy that saved those two institutions. So from that perspective, I'm excited to see kind of what's going to happen moving forward. But I'm still pissed at those 10 schools for doing what they did to our conference.
So you're like Jim. Jim, with every fiber in his being, and I get it. Anytime that they play is rooting against those schools that have left the conference, right, Jim? Nothing has changed.
Well, I want all 10 to lose every single week. And I'm going to be torn whenever they're playing each other on who I want to lose more. So I'm fed up with it. But what's interesting is that even when you talk to Oregon fans and Washington fans, they don't even seem happy about it. They understand why their institutions did what they did, but they're not really that excited about it. They're not looking forward to road trips to Indiana and especially like Rutgers. Who the hell wants to go to a game there? But it's just, I guess it's the way of the world, and change is always inevitable, but I don't like it at all. I can't stand it. I just can't stand it, Puck, but I'm trying to just roll with it and hope that, I don't know what I'm hoping for. I still would like to see the Pac-12 survive in some form or fashion. I also like these rumors about us maybe joining the Big 12. I certainly don't want us to be in the Mountain West. It's just weird to look at our schedule this year. I mean, I have it in front of me right now. And, when you got USC coming to town or UCLA and all these Pac-12 schools, and instead you've got Utah State and Hawaii and San Jose State. And we'll see how it goes. I like to think that the camaraderie, all of us alums will, get together in Pullman and it'll be like it used to be. But it's going to be different this year. It's going to take some getting used to.
Hey, Paul, before you chime in, Jim, has it what has transpired here in the last year with college football? How much has that dampened your love of the sport?
Oh, well, it's really dampened my love of the sport. I'm just looking at it going, I'm still going to love the Cougs, and I'm still going to root for us every week. And this season, we go into every season, of course, just like most alums for their schools, hoping you go 12-0. But this year, more than any other that I can remember in a long time, I mean, we really, if we're trying to remain relevant and we're trying to grab attention, we need to at least go 9-3. Because, I mean, I think people, elsewhere looking at Washington State and Oregon State, it's like, there's a reason why no one wanted them. And so, this year, especially these key games, I mean, we need to beat Washington, Boise State, We need to beat the Beavs, and I'm leaving one out. Oh, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, we need to win those 4 games, or at least go 3-1 against those 4 teams, because then people will be like taking notice. And I love the idea. I know Dickert's going to have us all fired up for those games, especially because I mean, it's like, you know, hey, wait a minute, we were kicked to the curb, guys, and this is our chance to show why we shouldn't have been kicked to the curb.
Yeah, Paul, for you, for not only just a fan, a one-time analyst, but you were an All-American safety there. You played there. What you see of it now, it's, you know, the conference that you grew up watching, the conference that you played in is gone. I'm just your perspective on what has happened and how much has it affected, maybe, you know, how much you pay attention in the fall. I mean, it's part of your job, but you know, how much has the fun been taken away with what has transpired?
Well, my very first game at Washington State was against San Jose State in Spokane at Albee Stadium. By the way, they still have they tore it down, but they had the exact same lockers and benches there that, you know, in the 2019 year that we had in 1980 and 81. So, right. You know, from that perspective, and on that team, you had Elway, who was the head coach for San Jose State, and they had an offensive coordinator named Dennis Erickson, who was pretty good. They kicked our ass. They were really good. They had 5 NFL guys that went on. Nichols was their quarterback. They had a guy named Will Hyde who was a running back. They had a big tight end. They were really good. And, you know, so I'm going to take a little different view than Jim about the Mountain West. I've been to almost every Mountain West school doing a game in some capacity, either with Washington State as an independent guy when I was working for College Football Saturday out of Las Vegas, or for Eastern Washington University. They're fun, beautiful, nice, cool stadiums. Now, they're not the Pac-10. F the Pac-10 because it's not around anymore. So these guys at least gave Oregon State and Washington State an opportunity to compete, put together a schedule for a conference that we basically didn't have much of an option on, because they would have had to go out and get 6 or 7 games independent. That would have been really hard to put together. So from a Mountain West perspective, it's good football. You go into Boise State. We were at Fresno State last year with Eastern Washington, lost in double overtime to the Bulldogs. And then the next week, Fresno State goes to Arizona State, forces 8 turnovers and shuts them out in Tempe. These are good football teams. That's why it's important for the Cougs this year. They've got to play well. They can't, be snooty and overlook these guys, because they are good and they will beat the Cougars if they come in with that kind of attitude.
You know what, Paul? And that is my biggest fear of this year. That's the number one fear, is because is Dickert's ability to guard against we're Washington State. We used to be in the Pac-12. We've got Power 5 talent on our field. We should be able to walk into Boise State and Fresno State, and we're bigger and better. We had more stars, and we should beat these guys up. I mean, it's just they've got to guard against that, because there's not a lot separating those teams. And if they have that attitude going into Boise in September 28th and Fresno October 12th, they're going to get their asses kicked. I mean, it was when was the bowl game? 2-3 years ago, Jake Haener. I mean, that Fresno State team beat the tar out of Washington State. I mean, up and down the field. If you ask somebody, right, Jim, an independent person who had no idea about college football, and said, which team is in the Pac-12, the bigger conference, everyone would have said Fresno State. I mean, they got destroyed in that game. And I know players weren't playing and all that. But as a Power 5 conference school, you should be able to withstand a couple guys not playing in the game and performing against Fresno State. I know, Jim, I don't know about you, but I just that's what worries me the most, because now they're like the big bad bully in the neighborhood, and all those Mountain West teams want to knock them off, where Washington State played that underdog role in the Pac-12. They're not the underdog role now playing in the Mountain West.
No, I mean, you're right, Puck. I mean, as much as Dickert will have, the chip on the shoulder when we play Texas Tech, Boise State, and Washington, the Beavers. I mean, those are key games that we need to win. But you flip it around, those Mountain West teams, I think it seemed like they were a little disrespected by Oregon State and Washington State. I'm not sure how, but they're going to be fired up to take on the Cougs and the Beavs, and they're going to be wanting to show that they belong too. And so, Dickert did a hell of a job. Paul, I have no idea how he was able to retain as many players as he did. I thought it was going to be just an all-out defection out of Pullman, kind of like our basketball team. We lost practically everybody, and somehow Dickert kept the team together and seems to have assembled, what would have been a good team even in the Pac-12 if the Pac-12 had remained.
Well, I can tell you, it's culture. And I'll just give you an example. We went back to campus this year at the end of July, that first week in August. When they showed up, we had 95 ex-football players that went down and played golf. It wasn't real good. It was kind of, it was 105 at Pullman. I melted pretty much about the 18th hole. But he invited us, all of the guys that were there, to go to the meeting with the team. And so we sat in a team meeting. Mike Leach never did this. Mike Price did, Walden did, Erickson did. Those guys welcomed a lot of the athletes back, but Leach didn't. He tried to keep us at arm's length in a lot of things. Leach did a lot of great things, don't get me wrong, but the retention and the group hugging of former players was not one of them. But what Dickert did that was the most impressive thing that I really liked, that I took away from it, because I know the coaches, I know the guys that were there, it's the culture that they built. So they were doing like a Jeopardy theme where you had offense going against defense, and had team. I had a big guy come up to me, I think it was Pole. I don't remember who it was, but he was huge. And he asked me a couple of questions. He goes, "Hey, old man, when did you play?" And I told him, "What's your name?" And I told him. He goes, "Any honors?" I go, "Well, look up on that wall over there, and you'll see a couple of things that might be interesting." So then he has some of his guys stand up and say, "Who did you meet? What do you know about them?" And those guys would say stuff about some of the players that were there. So to answer your question, Jim, it's culture. Dickert is building a culture at Washington State that's very similar to what he had at North Dakota State, what you see at Michigan and Ohio State. Basically he's getting those guys to play together as family. They're doing a great job. They compete on everything. And I was very, very impressed. And to answer your question, that's why you didn't see a lot of defections.
Okay, but Paul, let me interject here, Puck, real quick. Okay, culture can only go so far, though, especially in this world that we're living in with NIL. And so how have you, with the Cougar Collective, how have you been able to, hang in there? Because, there's got to be some guys going culture schmulcher, show me the money. And so, how do you rectify all of that?
We're showing them the money. We're getting better. And we're drinking beer. That's the best part of this whole thing. We don't have Nike guys. We don't have Reeser, potato salad dude. We have Cougar beer drinkers that love Crimson Lager and basically are doing stuff. We have coaches that are doing some things I can't really talk about, but it's helping enhance their programs, from a perspective of generating funds and revenue. And Cougar fans are starting to figure it out. They can have the greatest facilities in the world, but if we have a junior high school football team out there, or, the little dribblers out playing basketball because we can't compete, with everybody else because they're buying the guys from that standpoint. So a couple things, Jim, to answer your question. Culture is important. It's not the only thing, but it's also, we're making it harder for teams to come in and cherry pick our players because we're starting to raise some money, and we're starting to be able to get that back to the coaches, and the kids, and do the things that they need to make that program move forward. And I think that's an important step for this Washington State, program.
You know what I think it is too, is I think that everybody just thinks that this player in this day and age, that's all they care about is the money. Who is going to pay me the most money? Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't. It no doubt comes down to the decisions for these guys, where it is about finances. Who is going to pay me the most money, and I'll sign there. I do still believe in those kids that are coming out of high school that it appears he's recruiting, that they really just do want the best fit. Like, where's the best fit? Where, and then especially with mom and dad, who's gonna be best for our kid for 4 or 5 years? And I do. I put a lot of faith in some of these kids that it's just not all about the money. And I think that I think that's probably the best way, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Is for him to identify those guys. Now, if money comes along with it, I think it's beneficial. If they get into a bidding war with people, they're not going to be able to survive a bidding war with the top schools in the country. Most people can't. But I think they can give. I think they can give something back to these guys that I think will hold them over and will suffice them. And why they decided to choose that school, and then they'll stay there, hopefully.
Well, I think a good example is last year with Stone and Jackson. both turned down $300,000-$400,000 bags with USC as 6-year students. They didn't have to. They could have gone anywhere they wanted from that perspective, but they wanted to stay. And I think that sent a message to the rest of the players. Yeah. That was the kind of guy that they want to have. Now we lost the wide receiver to Texas Tech. You lost Cam Moore to a 7-figure deal to Miami. They lost a couple other players that quit, moved on, were playing. You're going to have that. And that's the difference now. Is now the transfer portal, you can fill in your holes with these guys, okay? Yeah. Then you go after the JC kids, and then you go after the high school guys that make sense, and you coach them up, get them in there for a couple of years, and that's the new normal now, is this whole transfer portal thing with NIL and then making that thing fit.
Hey, Paul,
Jim's in. Jim's all in. He's going to have all of his money that he's going to win off me in bets. He's going to give it to the 1890 Club.
No, I'm starting to waffle on that. I've been against that, to be honest, but I can see why we need to contribute. And I mean, if we want to have a winning team out on the field, that we need to be more involved. And honestly, I haven't been involved, and so I'm going to try and get on board a little more than I have. What I'm wondering, Paul, and Puck, you can chime in on this too.
Sure.
It's appealing to me, just as a person. I like to think that our football players, this is a 2-year period that we have here where we're trying to figure out where we're going to end up, whether it's the ACC, the Big 12, maybe a rejiggered, Pac-12, whatever. I mean, is it appealing to kids, do you think, maybe to be a part of that transition and to try and be like, maybe someday look back and go, hey, man, we were there in 2024 and 2025 when there was all this upheaval, but because of how we played and the seasons that we had, the bowl game that we went and won, whatever, that we ended up coming out the other side of it. There was light at the end of the tunnel, and I was there, and I was part of that. And to me, that would be appealing. That's why I hate guys like Pat Chun, just taking off and failing and not being a part of. I mean, he left us in the lurch, and then not only did he leave us, but he went to our rival school, which just, God, I hate him. But, so, I mean, is it appealing? Let me go back to the kids, though. Is it appealing to the kids in any way to be a part of that in this transition period?
I was able to talk to the safeties because we went in the individual group, so I can speak, from their perspective. We didn't really talk about this. I said, who gives a crap about all the outside noise? The only thing that you can control is what goes on the field in those 11, 12, 13 games that you get each year. I said, and I'll tell you this, you only need 2 years to be seen. I was a JUCO kid. I came in, I played 2 years at Washington State, and I was a 5th-round draft choice with the Bengals and got a couple years in, as a tackling dummy on the taxi squad. But I got my opportunity. I was able to get a chance to play at the next level, which I didn't really care about. I just wanted to play college ball. So to answer your question in terms of what I got from those guys, every one of those guys raised their hand and wanted to play in the league. Every one of those guys wanted to be a dog, in terms of how they competed. I told them, heck with being a dog, be a frickin' wolf. They eat dogs. Or a cougar, be something other than that as opposed to your rival. Create your own little spirit animal and go out and knock the crap out of these guys. Be the big dog. Go up and have some fun and win some freaking football games, because guess what's going to happen? You're going to get honors. You're going to get scouted. You're going to get a chance to whatever it happens to be for your dreams to make those come true, but you've got to win. And so it doesn't matter where you win at. And I think that's the thing that Dickert and his staff have been able to sell. Come in, help us win, create a new future for this program. That's kind of cool.
How do you think, Jim, you asked the question to Paul earlier about the retention of the players. How did he keep the coaches, though, Paul?
He's got coaches that buy into Dickert. And I'll just give you an example. Nick Edwards is one of the best wide receiver coaches in the country. Caught 2 touchdowns from Bo Levi Mitchell at Eastern Washington University in the national championship game in 2010. You know what? He's really a good wide receiver coach. He's an Eagle. He had another guy, Jeff Schmedding, who was making nothing. He left a job at university as a teacher and a football coach for 2 years and never made a cent at Eastern Washington. Spent 15 years there, bouncing around, went to Boise State, Auburn. There's 5 guys in that program that are very similar to Dickert that came from the FCS at a winning program at Eastern like he had at North Dakota State. So he's got those guys that are coaches that have chips on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And they want to show that they can compete against anybody, and they're coming back for this specific reason. So he's building a staff that's that's similar to the program that he's building with players, in my opinion.
Are you guys going to miss Cam Ward? Jim, go first.
No, I'm not going to miss Cam Ward because I'm looking forward to seeing John Mateer, because I used to work with a guy at KJR that all he could talk about every week was how great Mateer was.
Nobody has ball-washed John Mateer more than this guy right here.
God, you complained about Ward almost every single week too, and I understand why. I mean, God, it was no, I don't know. What do you think, Paul? I mean, if you had 100 Cougar fans, that love Cougar football, would it be 50-50 on missing Cam Ward?
Because Paul, let me jump in here. Paul, he was the poster. This is a fascinating thing with Cam Ward. He was really the poster child of the NIL. Yeah. Because he was like that collective, you were a part of it. That was like
our first deal.
But that was like the first public deal in college football. The real big first public deal where the numbers and what he was receiving came out.
Actually, it was the kicker from Tulsa who made a ton on YouTube.
Yeah,
that was the start. I mean, that was kind of the start of the whole thing. But from our perspective, and the story behind it is pretty cool, and I can tell it now, okay? I had $10,000. That's all we had. We didn't know how to do the collective. We had no idea what we were doing. So I built up $10,000 with the defensive backs because I wanted to give the DBs some money.
Yeah.
So we went down and I talked to Banker, who was the safeties coach at the time. And then he goes, well, I don't really know how to do this. Why don't you talk to Dickert? So I did. He goes, well, we kind of have a guy that we're recruiting that we'd like you to kind of think about maybe helping out on, Cam Ward. I knew who Cam was because Eric Barrier and Cam were battling for the Walter Payton Award winner. He was at Eastern, and then of course Cam was at wherever the hell he was at. I forgot the name.
Incarnate Word.
Yeah, I thought it was a church. And so then he gets me in touch with the offensive coordinator, who tells us that, Mississippi and some of these other programs are throwing 50, 60, 70, 80,000 bucks at him. I'm going, we got 10. How the hell are we going to make this thing happen? So we get the Cougs first guys together, Jack Thompson, Jed Collins, Tim Brandel, all of the different guys that kind of came on board that were part of the Cougs first thing. And then we created the Cougar Collective. And then from that, it went from $10,000 to basically $100,000. And the $100,000 consisted of a 2-bedroom apartment, $10,000 for his family to fly, tax stuff, with the IRS, a truck from Ron Clodden, so we're throwing in candy, popcorn, peanuts, ice cream, whatever we could get. That was our first deal. And then we wanted people to know that we were serious about the thing. Yeah. That's why we promoted it. But we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a pot to piss in, really, that first year. But Cam was kind of our guy, honestly.
Yeah, but it was the first time that it was real public I think it was the first time that it was public what he was getting, the truck, the apartment, the travel. And I think what happened, though, was, and unfortunately for Cam, who had nice moments. I mean, I'll sit there. I didn't like watching him play. I will say this about him. We were down. I'd never seen anybody better with kids, signing autographs, giving his time after a game than him. He was great. He was great at it. And he would pose for every picture, shake every hand, and all that kind of stuff. He was great with kids, and my kids had a bunch of pictures with him, over the years playing and going over there. But, I think there was just this pressure on him once you knew what he was getting, the truck, the apartment, and if he had a bad game, you could just sense it. And it probably happened to me. Well, God, what did we pay for if he can't make a throw over the middle or lead us on a game-winning drive? And that probably was a little bit unfair to him, and I wonder – thinking back, if we didn't know what he got.
That's the new normal now when you're paying these guys. The expectation level, and that's what I talk to the safeties about, is now you guys are pros. Okay? You're not the college dudes anymore. You are paid athletes, and they're going to treat you as a pro even though you're not. And there's a time and a place for that. Michael Irvin had a great statement about this. He goes, I was the youngest of 13 kids. He goes, I wanted to make it to the NFL because I wanted to be able to get out of living on the dirt floor and having all the things that went against us. So I sold out, did everything I could in college so I could get to the league. He goes, kids now, they're in the league without playing in the NFL because they're getting paid in college. We never had that option. And you're seeing guys that are not selling out, doing what he did to get to that level because they're getting the dough now. So there's another dynamic that's entered this picture. And it's just insane that, and let's face it, the Pac-12 blew up specifically because of money from the TV contracts and the TV networks, and we know who they are. So from that perspective, money has been the root of this whole crazy stuff that we've dealt with the last 2 years.
And Jim, I got my wish because John Mateer will be the starting quarterback for Washington State in their Week 1 matchup there against Portland State. Jake Dickert, announcing, which I didn't really think was going to be a surprise that he was going to be the starting quarterback. He obviously he had the upper hand on Zevi Eckhouse just because he'd been in the system for the last couple of years. He'd been the backup quarterback. He had known Arbuckle. He had known the system. Eckhouse had to come in and kind of learn everything. And it sounds that he was able to catch on and all of that. But you always kind of felt that Mateer had the leg up. And I was over in Pullman for their first scrimmage and just came away thinking that, I mean, to me, it was clear that Mateer was the better option. Maybe I'm looking through the Mateer, colored glasses because I've always wanted him to be the quarterback. But he brings, Jim, a different element, that I don't think Cougar quarterbacks have had. And the element is his ability to run and to use him in the running game, which I think just makes this offense that much more explosive, fun, and dynamic.
Well, I hope you're right. I listened to you nonstop last year singing his praises. I mean, like he was like a Heisman Trophy candidate or something. But
okay, now that we're telling stories, can I tell you where all that came from? I'll just tell it because he's no longer here anymore, so it doesn't matter. That all came from Chazanow. Chazanow would tell me nonstop, you should watch him in practice. It's unbelievable. He's 100 times better. Okay, he didn't say 100 times.
Well, way to throw Chaz under the bus there.
He's no longer the voice of the Cougars.
He's at North Carolina State. I don't think he's going to appreciate that. He said that to you in confidence.
He just said that I watch him and he's better in practice.
Hey, Chris King's the new play-by-play guy who's a Murrow Communications grad. You got your wish on that, Puck. Yeah. Other than you didn't get hired. We're sorry about that.
What are you talking about, Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Wish.
Well, his wish was that he got
the damn job.
Yeah, Paul. It wasn't that somebody else got it, you son of a bitch. It was that I got it.
Well, I did 14 years on the Cougar Radio Network. Why can't you get your ass hired? I got hired. Come on, man.
How did you last 14 years? You weren't that good.
Oh. Well, I own the rights. That helped.
Yeah,
and then my 3-year contract ran out. They fired me as soon as that was done.
So,
why am I giving you a hard time? I lasted 14 years doing sports radio in Seattle, and I'm giving you a hard time? Sorry about that.
But Jim, are you excited to see him play? I mean, we haven't really seen him throw the ball all that much because anytime that he came into the game, it was strictly just on running plays. So he's kind of still an unknown.
No, but he can throw the ball. I mean, I'm excited to see him. In that camp or that question that I asked about 100 Cougar fans, will you miss Cam Ward or will you not miss him? I'm not going to miss him, and I'm going to say that even if he tears it up down there in Miami. I'm looking forward to John Mateer. Let's go. Let's get him out there and see what we have with Mateer. I mean, Cam Ward, will he go down as one of the Cougar greats at quarterback? No. He was good, though. I mean, we're not talking Steve Birnbaum out there. So, no offense to Steve Birnbaum, but he wasn't very good.
Come on.
What?
Jeez, poor Birnbaum just getting thrown under the bus.
Throw him under the bus? Come on, dude.
I mean, what do you want from me? God,
he's no Paul Menke.
Hey, come on. I coach Paul at Lewis and Clark in Spokane. He's a good man.
Birnbaum and Menke are one and the same.
He's no Chad. He's smarter than both you guys.
He's no Chad Davis.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that's
God. Better. God, if we had Cam Ward, if we had Mateer, if we'd had anybody that year, we could have won the national championship. Our defense
was a great defense. Mark Fields on that. I still remember the play at Illinois. He ran 95 yards on a fumble recovery with the fastest guy on Illinois' team, the running back, chasing him and couldn't catch him.
Yeah.
And that was the difference in the game. They won 10-9, 3 field goals, so a touchdown and a field goal for the Cougs. And they didn't score on offense. It was a defensive scoop and score to win it.
No. To answer your question, though, I'm excited about Mateer. I'm looking forward to it. And then, I mean, is this the hot shot Arbuckle guy? Are we going to see more, bells and whistles like Ryan Grubb? I mean, what did we see, like all these innovative things last year?
Well, I think you were limited in terms of what Cam could do, on that. And then he started getting creative on holding onto the ball for 14 seconds and trying to, play like he was in the schoolyard. Where I think you're going to see an RPO, you're going to see more vertical stuff. You're going to see kind of what you'll see your mesh play. You're going to see stuff across the middle. You're going to see more, they're better on the offensive line, which is an improvement because they actually have a coach that played offensive line in Castor back in the day, as opposed to the last 3 coaches that were tight ends, running backs, and who knows what the hell they played. So you got somebody that's coaching these guys up that actually knows what the offensive line does because he played it.
Well, the Fa'amo will be the key there. He's been out of all camp, right knee injury, and I know that Christian Hilborn's been playing at right tackle. So hopefully they get him back. I think they're earmarking him maybe perhaps for the Washington game. They think.
Yeah, they think maybe back. Texas Tech, if that probably the earliest, but most likely Washington, I think, and so that would be great because he can play and he's been named to a watch list. Sure. Whatever. Outland or whatever the award is for the offensive lineman, and
they got to be better. I mean, obviously up front. I mean, we talk, Jim, you and I, we joke about this all the time when we talk about the Seahawks offensive line. The key is in the trenches, but I think it's going to be the same way here for the Cougs. They were 111th last year in all college football. There's 33 teams in red zone scoring because they just couldn't score in the red zone. One, because they couldn't run the ball effectively. I mean, the one thing that I came away from of watching that first scrimmage and then just reading all the articles of all the guys that cover the team, Jamie Vinick, Coug fan, Greg Woods at the Spokesman Review, is they really do have a plethora of running backs this year. Pelosi, who has shined at times last year, then had the injury in spring ball, but he's back healthy. Payne has shown flashes. Shellen Baker's good. Yeah. And then there's this new guy. All I heard about before I went over to that scrimmage was wait till you hear or wait till you watch and see Wayshawn Parker. And I just kept hearing Wayshawn Parker. In fact, when I sat and I was talking to Jake Dickert, before we even watched the scrimmage, he goes, you're going to see him, and it's just different. And you get out there, and the first time he touched the ball, he's a legit 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. And it's different. They have not had a running back like this at that school. I mean, no running back that's looked like him, and he's got a burst. He's worth the hype.
He can run. He's quick. He's fast. He's what you look for. And again, why are running backs good? Because they have people that can actually open some holes up. Oh. You haven't seen a good offensive line at Washington State, in my opinion, in the last 3 years. Yeah. Leach, that's one thing Leach went out and recruited. He got those big dudes every year. And I talked to Dickert about this thing, and we talked to Castor about it. He said it takes time. I've been recruiting in the South my whole life, so I've got to build up these new contacts. But he goes, we have depth this year. We got guys that can play. We have 5 dudes that pretty much started last year that are back, that understand what we're trying to do, and I'm teaching them techniques so they can get better and we can compete.
Hey, Jim, are you worried about what the crowd is going to be like, what the buy-in from the fan base is going to be like this year? You mentioned the home schedule. I mean, I have season tickets. I look at that and go, God, it's not that appealing. Portland State, they always kind of play those guys. But Texas Tech, that does it for you. But San Jose State and Hawaii and Utah State, and then the last game of the year, November 30th, after Thanksgiving, Wyoming. Jim, it's a tough sell.
No, yeah, especially the Wyoming game. If we go into that and we're 5-6 or something like that, and the kids will just be coming back from Thanksgiving that weekend. So, yeah, you're right about that one. But no, it's not appealing. It's not the schedule that we're used to seeing. So, yeah, I think there's going to be an issue. I don't think the hotels are going to be able to charge $500 a night for a game against Utah State. I don't.
They'll try.
I don't see how that's going to happen.
Puck, I took care of Puck already, Jim. I'll take care of you. Got to go to the Crimson House, my man.
Yeah, I checked that out for Parents Weekend. I'm a little late on that one because it's already, taken. But I will check out Crimson House, because it looked fantastic. But no, Puck, to answer your question, I think there's going to be a lot of empty seats this year, especially if we start losing some games. I'm worried too about, Dickert keeping them all in focus. If we get off to a slow start, if we have 2 or 3 losses, because I know going into this, we're all thinking, or at least I am, hey, that'd be kind of cool with 12 teams in the college football playoff if we kind of win 11-1 or whatever and somehow snuck in there. How awesome that would be. But if we lose 2 or 3 games early on by the middle of October, how are people going to feel then?
Yeah, I'm telling you, though, that Crimson House, hey, Sorensen, spot on. The lair, you stay in the bottom of their house in the basement, the bed and breakfast, Rick and Kim Wood. It's the best thing that you'll. The money. It's so worth it to stay there. By the way, so I would go and log on. It's the website is wsucrimsonhouse.com and see if there's any available dates. Go there, especially if you're a member of the Cougar Collective. You don't have to be. It always helps. You don't have to be, but it is the best place to stay. So much better than staying.
And they are boots on the ground in Pullman now. They are fantastic people.
Yeah, and hey, you'll be amazed by this, Moore. He's got like Sorensen has like some type of like a write-up in one of the rooms of like, this is, I think it's like the Paul Sorensen room or something they call it.
No, it's the two dorms. It's like Stinson and whatever the heck that is.
But you have a write-up. It says it literally, there's a placard there that says Paul Sorensen was here, All-American safety.
Yeah, and then you see stuff. There's like pudding and some applesauce thrown on it, and some gravy. People are launching food at it. So there you go.
Yeah, Jim. Best case scenario for them is what? You 9-3 is what you think?
God, Puck. I'm hoping for 10-2, 11-1. And I know it's, probably.
Why stop there, 12-0?
Yeah, I know it's a pipe dream and what's a Coug going to say, what a homer pick. But at least I put my money where my mouth is, because hey, Paul, I talked to Puck about this. He's got something where he doesn't want to bet on the Cougs, he's got this whatever.
I don't like doing it.
That's fair. That's okay.
No, it's not. You bet on our damn team. I mean,
somehow he thinks it makes you a better fan.
When we're underdogs, you can still win. You can win money. If we're getting 6.5, we lose by 6. So I don't know. I'm gonna bet more than I ever have on the Cougs this year because I'm all in on that.
Jim, you should be even happier that we have, UNLV in the league because you could go to Vegas and feel like you're right at home, the degenerate gambler that you are, man. So you should love the Mountain West of those dudes.
You're damn right.
Okay, that's a good point, Paul. Point well taken.
Hey, Sorensen, what do you think? Are you 10-2, 9-3?
I'm a 9-3, 10-2 guy. 9-3 if they have injuries. 10-2. They're gonna knock off one of the teams that we need them to beat, and they're gonna burp one that they're not supposed to because that's what Washington State always seems to do, but that will keep them relevant. They'll be in a bowl game, maybe in the conversation. This is the biggest year for football in terms of going out and have to perform in the field that I can think of. Maybe going back to '97 when that team was picked number 1 in the Pac-10 with Leaf and company, and they went to the Rose Bowl. So this is a big year to keep this football team relevant, this school relevant. They've got to go out and win.
We got to beat the shit out of Washington this year. I don't want to just win by 1. I mean, in the past, we win by 1. Okay, great. We got to beat the living hell out of them this year because I'm already so sick of that. I'm sick of that Jed Fish crap. Here's Bill Belichick out there, and Pete Carroll and Belichick's kid and Carroll's kid. God, what a bunch of garbage that is. I mean, honestly.
Are you going to be there? Are you going to be watching the game or sitting at home?
Well, listen to this. So my daughter, the granddaughter birthday party's on September 14th at 3:00, and I'm going, wait a minute. The Apple Cup is September 14th. It kicks off at 12:30. Daddy wants to watch the damn game, and so they'll have it on there. But yeah, I'm just kind of
being on time for the podcast. Jim.
God, I told her I don't want to be the grandpa that's putting the Cougs ahead of my granddaughter, but we're playing the Huskies that day. We got to win.
I think
we got to win
by 30
that day. That's a great lesson
for your granddaughter to learn. It's called priorities, Jim.
Did you hear? We got to win by 30.
No,
I'll take just by 1.
We do have to win by 30. If we're ever going to get the Huskies, this is the year to get them, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot of unknown. You have no idea what the team's going to be like. Just zero clue. I don't even think Jed Fish knows what he said. It.
No, they got Bill Belichick there all the time. So I think that's really good. God.
The sweatshirt sales in Montlake are going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
You both know. If Bill Belichick was patrolling the sidelines for Jake Dickert, we'd be lapping it up.
Yeah, you would.
Come on.
You think?
You'd be lapping it up.
No, I wouldn't. I can't wait to watch you do that thing with Elise and Jordan.
Yeah, well, here's
that's going to be a good acting job by you. You're going to be acting for 45 minutes. With us, you're being genuine and sincere. That Husky show you're doing, Puck the Huskies, I mean, I'm going to see through you, Puck. I know you well enough, and you're going to be like,
well,
hey,
what I like
what
about
kind of
doing it with
do the Huskies have ahead of them?
what I like about
release?
doing it with them, a couple of professionals. One, they'll be on time. When I ask them, can you not do the show from a side of the road? I bet you that Jordan and Elise will say, yeah, no problem, because I understand how important it is to not do it from a side of the road. I bet you they'll do that.
You know why? They're younger than I am, and they're not retired. Okay.
He's got 9 girls.
Holy smokes! Right. He must be Catholic.
Yeah.
Does he have 9 or 8?
I think he's got 9.
I think it's.
Yeah, I think it's 9.
It's unbelievable.
Think of all the weddings he's going to have to pay for.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
He's going to say no weddings for anybody. All right, that's our first edition of the Cougar podcast. I don't know. We've got to come up with a more creative name. Do you want to call it what? Old Crimson Podcast?
Yeah, I like that.
Call it the Old Crimson Podcast.
Yeah,
How about that?
Got a couple of old guys on here, and Puck, you're starting to look older anyway. There's a lot more gray in that beard than when I was working with you.
Look at that. Look at that. There's a
the
lot
nice job about growing a beard is you can hide your triple chins, Puck.
That's true.
The best part. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. All right, we'll call it the Old Crimson Podcast. It's brought to you by the Cougar Collective, your home base for all NIL opportunities connecting student athletes, fans, and business owners. Join today. Hashtag Mighty by Many in supporting student athletes on and off the field. You can join the 1890 Club for as little as $18.90 a month. The most accessible way to support the Cougar NIL growth. You can also make a one-time donation if you'd like. If you're a business, you can collaborate with your brand. The Old Crimson Legendary Lager, brewed by Pike Brewing, sales benefit the Cougar Collective. For more information on that, visit cougarcollective.org. And big thanks to Andy Largent at Flatstick Pub. Cougar owned and operated. They've got 6 great locations across our fine, beautiful state. Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They got you covered for everything. Date night, ladies night, guys night, large group, corporate event. Great for kids. I've taken my kids there many, many times. And a great place, of course, watch and celebrate the Cougs. Please visit them at flatstickpub.com. You can find Paul Sorensen on Twitter. He loves engaging with all Husky fans and Duck fans at Paul Sorensen 28. And if you'd like to bet on Little League Baseball, please follow at Cougs Go for the very latest with Jim Moore.
That's right, Puck. Thank you for the endorsement there.
You guys are the best. That's our first edition of the Old Crimson Podcast. Find it anywhere, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and, of course, right here, pucksports.com.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.